Creative Brain Candy by creators for creators.
You're listening to Simply Stogies, a monthly podcast dedicated to the cigar enthusiast. Light up a stogie, sit back and relax while James brings you along on his journey as a new cigar smoker. Simply Stogies will review cigars, discuss topics that cigar aficionados find important, and will probably learn a few things along the way. Now, here's your host of Simply Stogies, James.
Welcome to Simply Stogies. I am your host, James. This episode is a special episode as we welcome Robin Blue to the program. Robin, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm very excited to get to talk to you, get to know you, some of your products. She is the owner, founder, CEO, creator behind Blue Smoke ATL.
Woo, woo, woo! Yes.
So we will talk about that endeavor. We'll talk about her cigar journey, and we'll find out a little bit more about Robin here in just a minute. But before we get to that, I want to remind you to go to creativebraincandy.com and check out all of the great podcasts that we have there and streamers, including streamers like Captain Nilskill. If you're into video games, you like to watch video games on Twitch, check out Captain Nilskill, creativebraincandy.com, on Twitch at Captain Nilskill. And we are still looking for a couple of podcasters. If you are interested in becoming a podcaster for Bad Gamers Anonymous, if you are a video gamer and you enjoy playing video games and you think you have something that people would like to listen to, let us know. CreativeBrainCandy.com. Click the apply button at the top, and maybe you too can join the Creative Brain Candy family. All right. And now that all of that is out of the way and my shilling is done, Robin, welcome to the program. I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you as well.
So let's talk about what Blue Smoke ATL is. Now, the ATL stands for Atlanta, obviously, if you're not in the know. But what is Blue Smoke ATL?
Blue Smoke ATL is a cigar accessory company that offers cigar pokers and other awesome things. And those awesome things could be things like whiskey cubes, silver and gold, black matte flask, and just some other things that I've curated that I think are just awesome. And, cigar pokers. And cigar pokers, for most of you may know, are used at the end of your cigar when your cigar is close to your lips or close to burning your hands, or you're using it as a draw poker if your cigar is tight. So, Blue Smoke ATL, one, I love the color blue, so that's why it's called Blue Smoke. I mean, of course, we're smoking. And as you mentioned earlier, I live in Atlanta. So Blue Smoke ATL is why I named it.
There you go. So how did you get into cigar smoking? Because typically, we've talked about this on this show before, on this program, typically the stereotype is old white dudes smoking cigars. Like, that's always been the stereotype. And that seems to be changing for the better, right? It's more diverse now. How did you get into the hobby?
Well, I was going to the Caribbean with my brother, and, back then you could get any kind of cigar in the Caribbean. And so I was smoking those cigarillos thinking I was doing it. I was like, I'm in the Caribbean. I'm smoking cigars. Yes. And so my brother was looking at me like, not so much. And so, I started there. And then I think, with my cigar journey, as you smoke more, you want to do more. And so, when you're smoking the cigarillos in the Caribbean, then you I never did flavored because I never really liked flavored cigars, but I kind of went from the cigarillos to, the petite robustos, and then, kind of went up. Then I had my Perdomo Blonde champagne run.
I think we've all been there.
Building. I did that for a while, thinking I was really doing it. So, I've kind of just started off, and then I just started getting into it more and more. And my brother really helped me, expand my palate. He was a huge, my father's smoker. So I smoked all of the Las Antillas. I went to, all of my father's that they had. I mean, my father's is a really great brand. So I think it just had a lot of options within my father's, offering to really kind of get in there and feel my way around. And just went from there. And I really was never a big Cuban smoker because I really didn't have access to Cubans. But I will tell you, Cubans are really, I'm just going to be honest with you, those Trinidad, those Bolivars, they're everything. And I, was like, oh, I'm not into Cubans. I want to take that back for everybody I told that to. because I want you to know those Trinidad's and Bolivars are everything. So my palate has really grown, and I would really attribute a lot of that to my brother and to, just the knowledge of wanting to understand and know more about what I'm smoking.
So how long have you been smoking now?
I've been smoking for 15 years and seriously for 10. So I'm definitely a sister of the leaf. And, all of my girlfriends, we smoke. So it's pretty cool.
Did you have to get them into the hobby? Did you kind of bring them in?
No. Mm-mm. I won't say that I don't have friends that are not smokers.
Right.
I just think that when you smoke, you tend to befriend people that are in the smoking lounges. And then if you see women that are in there that are already smoking, they're like, hey, are you coming tomorrow? And stuff like that. So I just met a good group of ladies who just were naturally already smokers. And so I would say, and I hate to say this, probably 75% of my friends smoke. So it makes things a lot easier.
I don't know if I would hate to say that 75% of my friends smoke.
I'd be like, you're a non-smoker hater. No, it's not that. It's just when you go to cigar lounges, most of the people in there do smoke. I don't know that I would go to a cigar lounge if I didn't smoke. I just don't know that I would do that.
No, probably not. That might be a little odd. So you've been in the hobby seriously for 10 years. What's the first cigar besides the cigarellos? Let's take the cigarellos there. The first real cigar with a larger vitola where you were like, yep, this is it. I want to continue to do this.
I will say there's a couple there. My father's probably was the brand that got me really into smoking. And there's a brand that my father's makes called, I guess it's Noblesse. That's actually, I think, packaged by Ashton. That was one of the ones I was like, man, this is really, really good. And I think that I like to kind of go deep into a brand like Alec Bradley. I like the Prensado, so I think it was that kind of palette for me that kind of made me really feel comfortable around smoking those particular ones. I think sometimes when you're trying to figure out where you want to go, what you don't want is a bad cigar, because you're like, God, man, that just wasn't the same as, the one I just smoked. And you're kind of like, you don't want to try anything new because that my father's, the Alec Bradley, the Perdomo, the La Flor Dominicana, the Andalusian Bull, all of those cigars are like, Olivier, Melania, those are like killers, Encore, whatever. So you're like, I don't even want to try anything else because and that those are just, those are everything. And so I think for me, I've really just been on this journey to try different things, even though I know those are kind of like my go-to. I mean, if you ask what my favorite one was, I would tell you the Andalusian Bull, hands down. It's my favorite.
I know I don't have 3 hours typically to sit down and smoke that, but when I do, yeah, that's a fantastic cigar. So you bring up an interesting point because a lot of folks, especially a lot of older folks, and I say that because I'm old, they typically smoke the same thing, and they always go to that one cigar, and it's always that one cigar, and it's the only cigar in their humidor. But the younger folks seem to like variety. They like to try new things. Is it just a generational thing, or is it just that we're now living in a time where it's a great time to be a cigar smoker, and when there's so many brands and anything that comes to market in the U.S. market is quality, and it's going to find an audience? Is it that? Is it a generational thing? Is it just, or is it just a nature of what we've got going on in the business?
I mean, I think, and I'm old school too. So I think with the older school people, we've been down the cigar journey. So we've smoked, cigars that people say, oh, you got to try this. This is amazing. Oh my God, this is it. And when you smoke, you're like, I don't know if that's amazing. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's like everybody wants to recommend a cigar when you're smoking something you love. Like, you need to try this. And, instead of saying, hey, that's a good cigar, and there's like 14,000 boutique brands out there. So it's not saying that your cigar isn't a great cigar. It's a preference to me for smoking. You like this particular note, or you like this particular torpedo, or robusto, or whatever you like. So I think a lot of it is that we've just smoked a lot of cigars. And so we've just kind of weeded out some of the stuff that we don't like. And I think the newer smokers, they haven't had that journey. So they're willing to try anything, like, oh, I'll try this, I'll try that. And so for me, there's just some things, with, they have got cigars, scanner now where you can scan, the cigar and then figure out the notes and do all this other kind of stuff. You can just kind of figure out what you really like. So I think that's part of it. But I think with the resurgence of, it seems like every smoker wants their own different cigar. They want to go down to the Dominican Republic and they want to make their cigars. So there's just a resurgence of, Black cigar makers, people of color, everybody wants to make their own cigars. So there's just so much out there to try. And I think that in order to make sure your palate just really stays on point, you really owe it to yourself to kind of get outside of that. I mean, there's some stuff. I mean, if I'm in a humidor and I see that Andalusian bull, I mean, my eyes gonna light up and, get teary-eyed. Or that Valencia, there's some things I'm just gonna be like, oh my God, don't tell me you have that in here. Because one, some of them are hard to find. And so when you do see it, you're like, oh my God, I really want to smoke that. Or it's that kind of night where you're like, I don't even want to try that because I really just want to smoke something I know is going to be amazing. And I think that just comes with years and years of smoking and that wanting that consistency of knowing that you're going to have an awesome smoke and you're not going to have issues, trying to smoke it and not know if it's good or not. So I think it's really, with tried and true. We've been down that road, and I love a good smoke. I love a premium smoke. I mean, that's my weakness for sure.
You are very passionate about cigars, and that comes through. So I really want to switch gears here just a little bit, okay. And I want to find out how Blue Smoke ATL came about, because obviously you have a passion for the hobby. Was this that you saw a need and you wanted to fill that need, or are you a creative type? Like, where did this come from?
It's really twofold. I'm a creative type. So I do things like sew, I reupholster, I'm kind of like a closet hospitality person. People come over. I like to, make sure that they're taken care of. That comes from my mom. And so, I had seen, cigar pokers, number sticks, whatever you want to call them. They've got, identity crisis because they all, cigar jewelry, whatever you want to name it,
right.
Whatever. And I had seen them and I had some, and, my favorite color is blue. So when I saw a blue one, I was just like, oh my God, this is a blue poker. This is everything, So I think for me, because I'm an Army brat, my dad lived in, was in the military. I lived all over the world. I lived in Iran. I lived in Germany. I went to 4 different high schools, 4 different junior highs, 4 different elementaries. My life growing up is probably a little bit different than most people's. Not saying everyone, but just seeing all those different cultures. I wanted my pokers to really represent that type of, creativity. And what I saw out on the marketplace, and I'm not saying that I've seen every poker, because I'm sure there's pokers I've never seen, competitors I've never even heard of. But what I saw, it just didn't have that level of diversity and didn't have the level to be able to customize anything that you want for the right price.
Right.
So, it was really giving that and giving men more options. I think when I think of people who do pokers, and not everyone, a lot of them are geared toward women. So a lot of the pokers are geared toward women. They're kind of blinged out. And so I really wanted to find a niche market for the men, to be able to create pokers that men would feel comfortable wearing. Because, my brother was like, no self-respecting man would use a poker. What kind of business are you trying to get into? When I first told him I was doing that, he was like, oh, no. All the stuff I've taught you over the years, you have completely gone off the reservation. This is just not going to happen. And, older brother, you're just like, wow, thank you for your vote of confidence. Right. I appreciate you.
Right.
So it was challenging. And I think it was challenging because I had the target audience that I wanted to get to, my own brother, who was saying, no, this is not a good idea. And I'm like, oh man, if I can convince him, there's nothing anybody can tell me that I haven't heard from my brother. And my brother has no filter.
Right. Right.
Zero. So, he was, and so I really had to, when I first started, I had to really, deal with the fact that he was reviewing a lot of my designs, and he's like, nope, I don't like it, hate it, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. So I think initially it was to try to figure out if I could come up with a design that men would like. I'm not saying that I can't design for women, because I'm a woman, and that's to me it's a more easier transition for me to do. But I wanted to give men an option to say, it doesn't have to be blinged out. It doesn't have to look feminine. It can look, unisex, because I think a lot of pokers are unisex, and sometimes, men like it, sometimes women like it. So I think to answer your question, I would be around the creativity, which I love to do creative things. And the ability to hit an untapped market, because I don't feel that a lot of people who do what I do specifically target. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not some out there. I don't think there's a lot that do that. I think a lot of them target women specifically.
No, I would agree with that. And I'll be 100% honest. I wasn't, let me say it that way. I wasn't a poker guy. Like, I was never the guy that would, if I was going to nub it, I'll burn my fingers on the nub before I reach, for a poker and use that. I even so I have a perfect draw tool. I have one of, I never, ever use that as a poker. That just, it wasn't my thing. And when you reached out to me and we talked a little bit on Instagram and then through email, I ordered one of your pokers and my wife's like, are you really?
Too many skulls. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, are you really going to use that? I'm like, well, yeah, why not? Like, why would I not use it? I took it to the lounge this weekend. It's fantastically made. I want to get into that as well, but it's got enough weight, enough heft to it, but it's not overly heavy. And I pulled it out, and Tim, who those of you who listen to the show, follow our YouTube channel, know who Tim is. Tim looked at me. He's like, what is that? What are you
What are you doing? What are you bringing in here?
Right. And I'm like, no, dude, check it out. And he's like, oh, all right. That's kind of cool. I'm like, you want to buy one? He's like, no, I'm not a poker guy, but I loved it. Cause I could literally nub it and I didn't feel, like you said, a lot of them are geared towards women. This wasn't. This has 3 skulls on it, one dangling off on the chain. It's got the black jewels on it, which I really, really dig. And looking at your website, you have a lot of things that are geared to men, a lot of things that are geared unisex, and you have some things that are geared towards women. You can do custom for the right price, and you can also do. You have a lot of for fraternities and sororities that are geared towards them. Is there a reason behind doing the ones for fraternities and sororities? Were you in a sorority, or?
I'm actually a little sister to the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. No, it was really, when I first started, it was really about what people asked me to do. Hey, do you have one for Alpha? Do you have one for Omega? Do you have one for Kappa? So it wasn't that I, made an intentional decision to do it. I'm an Alpha Angel, and I thought that doing the Alpha one would be the easiest. That was the last one I finished because I felt so much pressure being a little sister to an organization. And I have a girlfriend who's a little sister, and she's like, I hate it. I'm like, oh my God, you hate that? She's an Alpha Angel. She goes, I don't like it. I'm like, oh my God, so I was like, well, no pressure,
right.
And then I would send it to different Alphas, and they were like, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought that the one that I was closest to would be easiest to do. It was actually, I probably went through 5 revisions before I actually got it right. And I send all of my fraternities and sororities to people who were in that sorority and fraternity to make sure that they're on board with it. So I really try to make sure that what I'm doing is on point as far as that they're okay with it, whether it be the Masons, whether it be Eastern Star, and all the different things. So yeah, that was kind of a tough one. So I don't necessarily, a lot of it's organic. Like the poker that you have was actually a custom poker that was designed by Les, who is actually in Asheville of Ohio. And so his, I think, is actually purple. And so he loved skulls. And he actually had the 3 skulls. And I said, Les, you need one more. And I said, it won't be too many skulls. And that's what we called it. So that actually is probably one of my top sellers for men. So it was actually a collaboration between, him and myself. And so I thought, I'm going to put his name on the website to say, hey, thanks, Les, for, your help with designing this. Because if I see something really cool that's a collaboration or that somebody wants, I'll definitely, put it out there if they don't mind. If they pay a lot of money for something custom, I don't put it on the website. I don't show it. People are like, oh, where's all that stuff? I have some of it out there on my website that I've just recently added. But I feel like if you buy something custom and you spend that kind of money, unless you show it, I don't really feel like it's right for me to just put it out there.
Right.
That's just my personal preference.
You've got a lot out there. You've got some sports themed ones. Like it seems like you bring in other people's hobbies into this hobby, which is, I think, is great because it gives a personal touch to it. Right. Because if someone's a big football guy, you've got the football one. If someone's a big into motorcycles, you've got the motorcycle one. So you can really customize it without customizing it if you're into some of these different hobbies. And of course, reach out to Robin. She'll be more than happy to come up with a custom piece for you. But take us through your design process when you're designing one of these. You said like some of these you go through 4 or 5 revisions, but like when you have, because I know you're getting ready to launch something new.
Right.
So
exactly.
We'll talk about that. But when you're going through this creative process, like what does that look like for you?
It depends on if I'm launching a new line or if I'm launching it, if I'm building it for use. So say, for instance, you DM me or call me and say, hey, Robin, I want a poker. And I'll say, great, what color? Most men, when I say a poker, let me guess what color you want. Black, right? So that doesn't take long to figure out. It's either black, or maybe blue. Every once in a while I get a green. But if I say black about 95%, yeah, how'd you know? I know, something about that, just came to me that you might want. Do you have black? Yeah, I do. I do have black. So typically, and every once in a while there's blue. So usually black, blue, maybe a green. Every once in a while you get a purple. So I know 95% or 90% of it's black. So that to me is kind of where I start. And then, I talk to the person to try to figure out, or I comb their IG page, so what hobbies do you have? Because it's really like someone mentioned it to me, like the Pandora of cigar jewelry. And I was like, well, I never really thought about that. But yeah. So I try to figure out what things they like, whether, it's motorcycles, whether, it's the name of their company, what are they, what message are they trying to put out there? What vision are they trying to show? I had a guy he had his own truck. He's here in Atlanta, and he, just bought his own truck. So he wanted to show the name of the company and the fact that he had his own truck. I know a guy that was a plumber who wanted to show that he had his own business. So it's just a lot of different, things, and women as well who want to, women who had, breast cancer, who wanted to show the fact that she, had recovered from breast cancer, women who love bling bling. I had someone who's in Florida, shout out to Kay, I want a blinged out poker. I want this thing to have so much sparkle, you're blinded by the sight. And I'm like, okay, Kay, no problem. So, I think I really spend time trying to figure out, okay, what are they trying to do? Where are they trying to go with this? And so that's kind of my first thing, is to understand, what do they want? What is the end product going to look at? And then I kind of work backwards to say, okay, if you want a blinged out poker, and, women's favorite color, it just kind of the gambit. Of course, mine's blue. You've got women who are going to like pinks and purple. That's kind of the top of the line. They're going to like that. You've got some people like green, but most women like pink, purple. Everyone's pink and purple. Every once in a while you get somebody that likes red. So I say, hey, what's your favorite color? They say purple. I say, well, do you like more, more of a natural feel? Do you like more of a blinged out? So it's really kind of a process of elimination. Okay, I don't like anything blinged out. So I know automatically with my bead cabinets, and I have hundreds and hundreds of beads, you don't need to look on the side, because this person wants kind of a natural stone, so I'm trying to really figure out who they are and what they're doing. And so, just by doing that, I narrow it down, and then I start putting it together. It's one of those things where, it really comes from God. It really is not anything that I'm doing, because I'm just not that smart. So I'm just like, okay, God, what are you thinking? Where is this going to go? Right? I don't know. Because sometimes I'm like looking at my beadboard going, woo, it's going to be a long night. Nothing's coming to me. So, I'm like, people are like, well, how long does it take? Sometimes I could do a poker in 15 minutes. And sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what were you thinking? No, and there's like, well, I've never seen a bad design. It's because I don't put those on IG. I edit what you see. I keep the ugly ones at the house. I don't bring those out.
Instagram is not real life, folks. It is not real life.
I create a story. Hello. So that's what I do, is really try to figure out who they are. I have a conversation, what are you trying to do? I figure out what their budget is. And, I tell them, custom usually starts around $60, because a lot of times they're going to be adding stuff to the poker. It's not like you're going to want a typical poker that's out there. If you're changing a color from red to green, that's not custom to me.
Right.
If any of my pokers are out there and you want to change the color, that's not custom to me. That's just, I have to assemble it anyway. If it's not already assembled, red, green, changing it, adding something minor, that's really not custom. When I say custom, it's your vision of a poker, that if you looked at that poker, that would be, somebody would know that belonged to you. So that's a different, changing blue, green, all this. I've got beads, that's not custom. So I do that. And then I just start playing and putting them together and seeing what goes through. Is it funky enough? Is it edgy enough? Does it really kind of, because to me, I don't like things that are symmetrical, meaning two beads here. I don't like it to all just make sense. I like it to not make sense, if that makes sense to you.
It does.
And then what I do is I give people 2 prototypes to look at. I videotape the prototypes because I want them to see the 360 look of it. And then they get the option of picking prototype 1 and prototype 2, or if they hate it, they say, well, Robin, I don't like either one of them. And then I go back to the drawing board. So that's how I do it.
Wow. That's quite the in-depth process.
I guess it's just natural. I think, to me, when somebody gives you an option, if they give you one option, you almost feel like you're, like, how do I know this is a good idea?
Yeah.
If you get 2, you kind of say, well, this one was better than that one. And that's why I've always done 2. Now, I don't usually give more than 2 options. Now, I've done 3 in the past if I'm just not sure, because some people, they're like, oh, just build me something. And I don't even know that person. I'm like, wow, okay. So that's a little bit harder because I don't know anything about that person. So I'm just kind of throwing a dart against the wind. I don't know them. A lot of times I want to look on their IG page. I want to talk to them if I do custom. If they say, oh, you do great work, Robin, just do anything. And I'm like, ooh, wow. so that's harder because I don't even have anything to draw on. I don't even know what you like. I don't, are you in the military, or, is there something that's special to you? Oh, it doesn't matter. Well, it'll matter when you see a prototype and it's not what you want.
Exactly.
That's when it'll matter.
Exactly. That's exactly what it'll matter.
Yeah. So I don't know if that helps.
It does.
Explain.
It does. It does. Let me ask you this. So you have some of your pokers and some of your other things that you sell. You have those in some cigar lounges?
I do. Yeah. So I have them in Sugar Daddy's in Vegas. And then I have them I have them at a Sear here in Atlanta, which is on Thornton Road. I have it at the Humidor, which is in Snellville on Centerville Road. And I'm working on a couple places in Houston. And I've got a couple places in Atlanta that I'm trying to lock down. So with COVID, it's making it a lot more challenging to lock stuff down. And so I have to be very strategic about going out and trying to generate that business. And then I have 3 cigar lounges. I have one in St. Pete, one in North Carolina called Ashes, and then I have another one that have my pokers and people that have sold my pokers in the past, and for whatever reason, decided to move off of that. So yeah.
How hard is it to get lounges behind the product and kind of let you in, so to speak? Right? Is it difficult? Do you find it difficult?
I think their first option is to really get cigar brands, so they want cigar brands. So I think that's where their money is going to go to. Well, let me say it first, probably cigar and liquor. So those are the 2 things that they're going to say. If I got cigar and liquor, the rest of, and ashtrays, they're probably anonymous. So I think that I would say it is probably more difficult than cigars, but I think they have to have the vision that people want. In the cigar industry, people have toys, they have cutters, they have lighters, they have, travel humidors. They don't spend like $2 or $3 on these. I mean, I've seen, lighters that are up to $200 or $300. You've seen cutters, $1,500. So we have our toys. And so knowing that, I think they're open to it. I would say that for me, I have a certain cigar lounge that I want my pokers in. It's not for every cigar lounge. Every person, every cigar owner is not the right fit. But it is a challenge because you're having to tell somebody, hey, spend money on this. And so what I typically do is, I bring them out prototypes and I go to the cigar lounges and I support them. And what I mean by support is I bring my other pokers and I'll sell them right out of my case and I still split the money with them. Because I want to say to you, hey, I support what you're doing. I frequent your establishment and I wanted to let you know that I'm going to do whatever it takes so your customers understand that Blue Smoke ATL cigar pokers are in here. So it's like, service after the sale. I don't just leave them there. I put you on my Instagram. I talk about it on, podcast, whatever I can do to really support that business, because I feel like if they're supporting me, I need to support them.
Well, that's fantastic. That's awesome. That's a great way to build a brand, in my opinion. So kudos to you. I want to switch gears again. As a woman in the hobby, have you been seeing more women out there when you do? I know COVID and everything is making it hard to get out. Trust me. I know it's so cold here and all I want to do is go smoke somewhere warm.
Right.
But have you noticed more women smokers in the past couple of years?
There are a lot of Sisters of the Leaf that have really helped with that. And what I mean by that are influencers who have done things like her aficionado, who's here in Atlanta, who's done She Smokes Too. You have, Sisters of the Smoke in LA. You have Bobby January in Miami. So there's a lot of Sisters of the Leaf and influencers who have really, become, I don't want to say role models, but people that say, hey, this is what it looks like when a woman smokes. We don't smoke like men, we think we're a little bit sexier when we smoke. Joke. But, so I think it's been a lot more women out there because I think the influencers have really showed images that it's okay to smoke. I think initially when women started smoking, they really kind of did it behind closed doors. It was like, oh my God, you smoke, and it was more of a judgment. And now it's more of an acceptance. And so I really give kudos to the Sisters of the Leaf influencers that have done things to really make that permission space very open for people to smoke and to teach people how to smoke. And I think that's the challenge because everybody is not ready to smoke, a full body cigar, right? There are some people that are going to smoke a Tatiana and love it, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? There's all different types, whether you do flavored, you do mild, medium, and mine is like a medium, medium bold, right on that cusp on that, so I think, embracing people's journey where they are, whether you're at a Tatiana, or whether you're at a, full body cigar that you look at it and it's just so dark and rich and you're just like, ooh, I got to eat a steak before I smoke this baby because it's going to be on. So, I think it's one of those things where, we are showing different images, on my Instagram, as well as my other friends who are Sisters of the Leaf. We show images where we're smoking. I'm an ambassador for Atlanta Cigar Week. And so, her aficionados is the president over the ambassadors. And so, we've just showed images of women smoking and not, not knowing, I think some people think when we're smoking, we may not know what we're smoking. Oh no, we know. We know, and we're investing in premium cigars. And so I think it's changing. But I think a lot of it is sometimes I think men are still asking us questions about, what are we smoking and, how long have you been smoking and stuff like that. And I think they're surprised when you say stuff like, 10 years and 15 years and that you're a Sister of the Leaf and stuff like that. And so sometimes, we've been smoking longer than they have. And so we always smile when we hear that.
Oh, you've been smoking longer than I have. That's for sure. I've only been at this for 2.5 years now. So
yeah, you told me. And some people, quick learners. So that's probably where you were.
Well, thank you, but probably not. This is all a journey, right? It's a journey for everybody. Everybody starts somewhere and they end somewhere, and it's all about what's in between. So for me, It's all about the people that I meet along the journey, like yourself. What you have an interesting story that you're adding to the industry. You're not just smoking, but you're giving back to the community. And I think that's fantastic. So when you walk into a lounge as a woman, not as a businesswoman, but as a Sister of the Leaf, are there lounges where you do feel uncomfortable because of maybe some of the patrons or the just some of the questions? Because I've asked this of almost every woman that I've interviewed for the show, and inevitably, unfortunately, they've all said yes, that, yeah, there are some lounges that you do feel uncomfortable going into. Have you had that experience?
Because I sell pokers, I go to a lot of lounges. And so to me, part of it is smoking and part of it is transactional. So I'm investigating the lounge to see if it's a good fit. So it's not that, I'm looking at it from two different perspectives. So some women might be going in there because they just want to smoke. I'm going in there because I want to smoke and because I'm seeing if they're a potential customer. So if I feel uncomfortable, it might be uncomfortable because they're not a good fit. I'm like, oh man, I probably could have went somewhere else. Or, the latter where, maybe it's dimly lit and you can't barely see.
Yeah.
In some cigar lounges, I'm like, whoa, I can't even find my lighter in here. So, I think it's about having an environment where, it's welcoming for all people. And I've been in some lounges where I'm just like, probably not so much. So I don't know if it's so much that I'm a woman. It's just that some of them, how should I say, are probably not as attractive. In Atlanta, we have over 130 places to smoke.
Wow.
So we have a lot of options. So, I can pick and choose where I smoke. And so, at this point, I've been in Atlanta almost 10 years. I kind of know where there is to smoke. But, when you go out of town, you don't know, what you're going to find when you see whatever. So, I don't know if it's so much women feel that way. I think people in general just have a certain, there's just certain restaurants you like, so you might like this particular restaurant and you might see, sometimes you're down for a hole in the wall. And sometimes, you want that upscale, upscale experience, where, you just want upscale. So, I like everything in between, so because I sell pokers, I'm going to a lot of cigar lounges and that's a space I'm comfortable in. And a lot of times, I chose to sell to men because men, right now are outnumber the women as it relates to, buying cigars in the industry at the moment.
Right. What do you look for when you go into a lounge and you're looking at them as a potential client? What do you look for in a lounge? Like you said that some lounges you go in, it's just awkward because like this isn't the right fit. What is the right fit for Blue Smoke ATL?
That you have a display case currently that you can put my pokers in. If you don't have a display case, and it's got to sit in the humidor with all the other cigars, I think it's going to be hard to see the pokers there. That's probably one thing that I look for. Are my pokers going to be showcased? If you're going to have to dig through a whole bunch of different cigar brands to find it and it's in the back corner and you're telling me this is where the pokers are going to be, probably not, because my goal is to generate revenue. And if I find that my pokers are not going to be sold because they're in the back corner or they're not being highlighted, that's probably not a good fit.
Right.
Do people use pokers in that cigar lounge? Do I see anybody using a poker? I typically like to go to upscale cigar lounges for my poker because my pokers average about, and not that, different people can't go to different cigar lounges, but they average about $45, $50 per poker, depending on what kind you have. And I do have, some affordable ones that called the affordable line that are around $30. But typically you're going to spend, about $50, including shipping, to get it. So I kind of look at, what are people spending money on? Are they spending money? Because, by the time you get your drink, by the time you get something to eat, by the time you buy your cigars, okay, now you tack it on another $50. So I'm trying to look at the disposable income to make sure that people are going to want to, are in a position to do that, whether it's in an upscale lounge or in a different lounge that's not upscale, but people just have the money and they're wanting to spend it. So I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the fact that they have other accessories. Do they have cutters, lighters? Have they bought anything outside of cigars, and liquor? Because if they haven't, typically, then I'm not going to be a good fit, because I don't know that I'm the first accessory you think about. I mean, typically, stuff like lighters and cutters probably, I hate to say this, probably come in front of that. And if you haven't made an investment in looking at any of those types of accessories or t-shirts or anything like that, then it's probably not going to be something you're probably going to be looking at.
I don't, maybe the lighter and the cutter, but the t-shirt is like way down the list.
No, but I'm saying something. You have to have
Sure.
something besides just the cigars and, your liquor. Some item. I just need to see something. Lighter, cutter, t-shirt, something that says, okay, we see value in having something else besides this. So when I do, and then, it's about the person who owns or manages that place. Are they going to be pushing the pokers? Do they understand it? Do they like the product? Are they going to be, because I'm not going to be there 24 hours a day. Right. Are you going to be pushing it? Are you going to be easily accessible for me to call and check and say, hey, listen, do you need some more pokers? I'm coming out that way. Atlanta is so spread out. So, driving an hour out there, if I just want to go out there, that's fine. But, are you going to be out there, having a line of communication to say, hey, listen, do you need some more pokers? What's going on? There's a request coming in. So I think it's those different factors that I'm looking for to say, is this a partnership? Like if you're doing an event, I don't mind doing custom pokers for you because you're doing an event about specific things. Coming out there to support you. If you're doing something, I can bring additional pokers. You can buy them for me on the spot. I don't have a problem with that. So I'm looking for someone who's going to work well with me versus, I feel like I'm bothering them every time I call. That's probably not a good fit for me.
No, probably not a good fit for most people, I would imagine.
Right.
I want to talk.
And people like to have fun. I like to have fun. I mean, I want, when I come in the door, I'm like, hey, just want to have a good time and not like, Debbie Downer. Like, I want to see that when I come in the door. Like, woo.
Those are the worst lounges to go into when you walk in and someone's just like, welcome to the lounge.
I know.
Like,
right, exactly. Versus, hey, and it doesn't, I love, outdoors. So that would be great to have an outdoor patio. And it'd be nice if, you had someone who had like a little jazz band. I love live music. So that always, helps too. For me, during COVID, it makes it challenging because, you don't want to be out there too much, but then you do have to show some love and say, I want to support you. I can't really hang out all the time, but you do stuff like supporting them through Instagram, Facebook, and then just, telling people about it. So it's a little bit different. Prior to COVID, I did more things than I'm doing now versus, what I'm doing now. So right. I think that's what's ideal for me is to have somebody who says, and, when they say, oh my God, I love what you do, that gets me hyped. I'm just like, oh, right. Yeah. And even if you don't buy it, just appreciate the art. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good fit for every single person. You may not be a good fit today. It may be a good fit 3 months from now or 6 months from now, but just saying, hey, I appreciate what you do. That means a lot to me.
I have to say that I loved the way that this came. It comes in a jewelry case.
Whoa. ATL, Blue Smoke in the building. Yes.
Like it's very classy. It's very elegant. You open it up and it's got your card inside of it, and it's got the poker there, and the poker's secured very nicely. And then depending on which poker you get, it can also come with a velvet case. Mine came with the case. And so that's where I can store it, and I know I won't lose it because I know I'm looking for that case and not, I put it in my pocket and then I didn't. So it's brilliant. It's perfect. It is absolutely gorgeous. What do you got coming up? You got a new line coming out. What's this new line, Robin?
Yes. So, I decided to launch a new line. A lot of times what I do is I just do how I feel. Like sometimes I just make a poker because I just feel like making one. I may not go through any rhyme or reason. So, it's more intentional. So this particular line is called Majestic, and it is going to be on the Etsy store, which is very much a departure from where I normally put everything. I normally put it on my website, or I showcase it on Instagram/Facebook. And so I came up with probably 40 and growing different pokers that I've never done. I think the one that you got, I did again just because men love that poker. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that one again.
Guys are easy. Guys are so easy.
Yeah, I did that one in red and black just because I did it for Valentine's. I think I showed it on my Instagram the other day. But and so I'm doing it on Etsy. My store will launch, fingers crossed, on Saturday. I did a photo shoot of 250 some photos. Yeah, so it was really interesting. And so that's a little bit different than what I normally do. So I did a photo shoot. I'm going to I think I announced it on another show, but I haven't announced it on Instagram yet. So I will announce it when I know for sure that it's a done deal. But I wanted to really do something where I spent the time and energy to think through the collection. I did a photo shoot to, give people some awesome photos of it. Because, people always say to me, well, it looks so much better in person. And I'm just like, the iPhone 8 is killing me. iPhone 8, no. So I got the iPhone 12. So hopefully that'll help with my pictures. But I did hire a photographer to do the photo shoot. And I wanted to just really do something completely out of the box. It's called Majestic. It kind of reminds me of a trip through Europe, which is where I lived in the Middle East. And so I really like it a lot. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I think it's one of those things where I just wanted the collection to be cohesive instead of just like, here's one piece and here's something else, and this doesn't really go with this. And so it was just my way of just saying, I'm going to focus all my energy on this and see what happens.
So are you still you're going to keep the website though, right? Even though you're going to launch the Etsy. So you're going to have two different facings.
I'm going to have two different platforms, Etsy, which that stuff will not be on the website. And then I'll have the website. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the website and see what's not selling. And I'll do a refresh on the website later on this year and probably do a photo shoot or a video for the website to do even bigger launch for the website. Because that's really, IG and Facebook are really kind of like, my family. They're the people I ask questions to. IG, what do you think? If I get 2 likes, probably not one I want to put out there. If I get 100, I'm like, whoa, you done hit it, Robin. So, I wanted to give them 2 different platforms to be able to buy my products. So Etsy is going to have something completely, you will not see that on the website. And I only showed like a couple of pictures on Instagram, so they don't even know what it looks like.
Right.
And then my website, I'll do a completely separate collection. And it's just God, because to be able to crank out these different designs and just continually to create out 40 different designs that people have never seen before, sometimes I'm like, I don't know where the stuff's coming from, but I just wanted to do something really unique and different. And so Majestic is it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm sure everybody else is as well. So we'll keep our eyes glued. The website is bluesmokeatl.com.
Yeah, on my social media is Blue Smoke ATL. So whether you go to Twitter, whether you go to Facebook, whether you go to the Etsy store, whether you go to Instagram, everything is Blue Smoke ATL. And my website is bluesmokeatl.com. I'd love you guys to follow me on any one of the social media platforms or all of them. That would be phenomenal.
Absolutely. Go give her a follow. I'll put all of that in the show notes. So you'll be able to easily find her website, all of her social media. Go give her a like, give her a follow. And if you haven't bought a poker from her, I'm telling you right now, buy a poker from her, whether it's one that's already on the website, whether you want to wait and see what the Majestic looks like on Etsy, or if there's something custom you have in mind, reach out to Robin Blue and she will make you a poker that I promise you will enjoy. It is fantastic. It is it's well made. It is elegant. It is very classy. You will not be disappointed with anything she puts out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. I do guarantee my word. If anything happens to the poker, I will fix it or replace it. And I'm also giving alcohol swabs for all the pokers so you can wipe all your equipment off. I think I sent you some of those as well, just because I don't know that we wipe off our equipment as much as we could. So I put those in the packaging as well. And I would love for you guys to contact me and on this call, I could give you a free consultation and just, show you what some options would be to be able to have a poker if you're not really sure. Some people don't know. They're like, I don't know what I want. Okay, well, I can help you through that process of figuring out, narrowing it down, because I've made a lot of pokers. So I kind of have a feel for what, once I talk to you, what you'd be interested in. Hopefully, with fingers crossed, I can do it.
Right.
I can do it. Yes.
Just make sure that you're giving her the information and don't just say, just whatever you want. Whatever you want. It's fine.
Right. I have had that. And, sometimes, people just don't know. They know what they like when they see it.
Right.
Like, I don't know, but I know. And sometimes you just have to take a gamble and, you just do two completely different things to see if you can get closer to what they did. And, it's just one of those things, sometimes you just don't know. It's like, you know what you don't like, but sometimes what you like is harder to identify. And I'm open.
I can't imagine doing that. I'm a creator in a very different type of venue where I create what I do, what I know. And I don't usually deviate from that a whole lot. And I ask for feedback. If I get feedback, great, I can incorporate that. But you are asking like, hey, what do you like? What do you not like? What are you looking for? What are you not looking for? I can't imagine trying to put together an order like that. That's just not me.
It's pretty crazy because I've gotten some really crazy requests. When I say out there, I was kind of like, I put the phone on mute and go, did they just say that? I'm like, wow. So I've got some stuff out there, and I keep asking what they want, but they've challenged me. Wow, people got some interesting lives and some of the pokers are personal statements. The woman who had breast cancer, or somebody who was they had a home for I think it was like a young men's home that they're wanting to promote, or, whatever their journey is. So, these pokers started off with, I'm just going to make some pokers. And then they started to be personal statements and journeys on where people are going in their life. Like my poker, the reason I started making my own pokers is because every time I would go out, people go, can I buy that poker? You mean the one I'm using right in the cigar? You want this one? You don't want me to make you enough. You want this one. And I was just like, well, okay, I'll wipe it off and give it to you. I'll sell it to you. So it was just odd for me. And so I said, I'll just make my own pokers. And then I won't have that issue, because they'll be mine and I won't sell them. And my brother's like, why are you going to make something you don't sell? Because I'm going to give you 300, 400 pokers to pick from. These three are mine. Is that hard to do? So, so that's the situation.
Wow.
It's fun. I'm a creative person. And so, you ain't got nothing to lose. And, my thing is, if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work.
I can promise you it's working. They're fantastic. They're great. You do such a great job. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Go visit our website, bluesmokeatl.com, Blue Smoke ATL on Twitter, Blue Smoke ATL, Facebook, Blue Smoke ATL on Instagram.
And Etsy. Yep.
There you go. Robin, thank you. Everyone, join me next time when I'm not quite sure what I'll be talking about. I can promise.
But you're going to be talking, right?
That's right. I'm always talking. And we'll be talking Simply Stogies. Stay smoky, friends.
Thanks, James.
Thank you for listening to Simply Stogies. Please rate and review Simply Stogies on iTunes. You can follow James on his cigar journey on Instagram at Simply Stogies Podcast, all one word, and on Twitter at the Twitter handle at Simply Stogies.